Hi everybody, it's Kristi from Funky Junk Inspiration. How are you guys today? Today's playlist is Don't Worry, Be Hoppy. Yep, I picked a bunny. I picked a bunny for my hopping thing. I was kind of torn between a frog or a bunny, but since it's close to Easter, I decided that we needed to do a bunny. So I have this little chunky bunny right here. I've had it for a while. I think I got it at Hobby Lobby, I'm pretty sure. But I probably got this thing probably 2, maybe 3 years ago. But anyway, I'm using Rust-Oleum chalked paint in the white to cover it. I like the Rust-Oleum chalk paint. I buy it in the quart and then put it in the FIFO bottles. It's cheaper that way than to buy a bunch of the little bottles and stuff like that. And it's a wonderful chalk paint. It leaves a good finish. It's not too thick, but it's not too thin. It has very good coverage. The back of this, the sticker was stuck on there, so I had to use my heat gun to heat it up so that I could scrape that back off. And so this is just the back of it. We're painting white right here. We're going to use this really cute tulip napkin and put it on this bunny. Napkins make decorating so easy. We can take something like this right here and basically slap a napkin on there and it looks like a real nice piece of decor, a high-end piece of decor or something. If you don't know how to paint or you don't feel like you paint very well, this is a great way to get the look of something that you may possibly have painted or something like that. When you are using napkins, as we all know, you need to get it all the way down to 1 ply right there. And I use my water tool because I do not like straight edges, so that it would be kind of rough at the top there. Now I am just using plain old Mod Podge here. I'm not using anything special on this. Wrinkles don't bother me, so I am not using the iron-on method. I'm just putting it down, putting my napkin down. If you don't want wrinkles or something like that, then you would want to use like the iron-on method or even to use the method of the saran wrap or the bag or something to help smooth that out a little bit. Okay, so I'm kind of going over the top here just to make sure that I've got it all down real good, and that does seal it, but usually what I do is I do end up spraying a lot of my decor items, especially things with napkins on them, so that they're easy to clean when they get a little dusty or little Cheez-It fingerprints get on them or whatever, Now you do notice that I do have a chippy brush there. That's what I help push the napkin down into the Mod Podge with. I tap with that more so than my hands, because my hands end up getting the Mod Podge on there and they get sticky. And then I'll pull that napkin right back up. Okay, so right here I am just sanding the excess napkin off with my little gator sander. You could use a nail file, whatever you have, whatever you want to use, you can use. Right here I grabbed a little needle file to get down in underneath his ear and his back, because my gator wouldn't fit down in there. So as you can see, this turned out really cute. I was kind of puffed up there a little bit, so I just wanted to go over it one more time along that edge. And I think this looks really cute just like this. I mean, absolutely cute and perfect. I just love it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the edge and I'm going to paint it dark brown. I'm using burnt umber from Apple Barrel. And I'm just going around and I'm painting that. And I'm letting a little bit of it flow over around the edges so it gives it kind of a finished framed look when it's all done. So here I'm going to go all the way around with the burnt umber on this. As you can see, it kind of folded over there a little bit. Usually I use a stencil brush, but I used the paintbrush this time. The stencil brush with the stiffer bristles comes out a little bit neater when you do the edges, but I wasn't sure I'd be able to get underneath that ear and all that kind of stuff. But that's okay. I think it turned out really cute. So now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of feathering that up around the edges there, just to kind of give it a little bit of a framed look, even just a little bit of a distressed look. And you'll see when I get all done here, I end up kind of very lightly going over the whole thing with the brush, and it kind of picks up some of those wrinkles and stuff like that, and it just kind of makes it look a little bit grungy, so it doesn't look quite so stark white. I just went over the whole thing, his ears and everything, the napkin and all that right there. And I think that turned out really cute. Now the back. I decided that the back just needed to be brown because originally what I was thinking about doing was putting that napkin again on the back of it so that if this was sitting somewhere that someone could see the back, it would have the same design on it on the back. But I just decided to go ahead and paint it brown for right now. I'm actually possibly thinking about maybe doing another project on the back and using like a chippy method or something on the back and maybe a different napkin just to give it a different look. So here's our finished project, our cute little bunny. Okay, today's playlist is by Take 5. It's called Don't Worry, Be Hoppy. It's by Mary from the Painted Peach, myself, and Jeanie from Jeanie's Palette. Our links are all up in the description. Make sure you go check out all our videos in the playlist. Make sure you subscribe to the channels and all that kind of fun stuff. So now here we go on to project number 2. And if you just saw right there, I used Min Waxed water-based stain to stain this board right here. I'm just cleaning up my mess, so when I flip it over, I don't have a big blob of stain on there. But I just went over the front and then I went over the back and did around the sides. And it is chestnut, I believe. Now I'm going to use the Pentart Crackle Medium. Pentart Crackle Medium. I buy all my Pentart stuff from Decoupaged Central. In my link tree, which is up in the description, there is a link to Decoupaged Central. I am an affiliate with them, and that gives me a little bit of discount. But while you're at Decoupaged Central, you want to check out the IOD stuff, but you also want to check out the amazing rice paper and digital designs that she has on that page. And oh, they are so beautiful. She even has blank rice paper there that you could print your digitals off on if you wanted to, or you could just use regular old printer paper. Okay, so I dried it just a little bit, not very much. And now I'm just taking my Rust-Oleum chalked paint and going right over the top of it. You don't want to keep going back and forth. Like you'll see here, I go back to the very front where I first started and see how it started to pull up there? Because it is already starting to crackle. Now I'm just taking my heat tool here and I'm drying that, and look at that beautiful crackle. Now I know Pentart has a small crackle and a large crackle, so you can get different finishes with the different kinds of crackles that you get. Okay, now we're going to use this stencil. It says Cottontail on it. This is from Essential Stencil. My link for Essential Stencil is also up in the description. If you use the code FUNKYJUNK at checkout, that will save you 10% off of your order. If you decide to order something, they have amazing transfers, stencils, and all that kind of fun stuff there. Absolutely love them. Okay, right here I am painting all of the little leaves, this green color right here. I'm not painting, I'm stenciling. When you stencil, you put your paint on, then you need to work the paint up into the bristles and make sure that you don't have blobs of paint on the end or the bottom of your brush. That's what causes bleed through and things like that. And I did that lavender rabbit, and I kind of looked at it and decided that I didn't really like it, so I grabbed a little bit darker purple and went over the top of that. It mixed with that lavender. It still was a little light, but it was darker than what it was. And I really like how that came out. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of use this teal color and go over the words right here. So here we're going to go ahead and stencil that over there. Also, when you're stenciling, you want to make sure that your stencil is flat. You want to make sure that your stencil doesn't move. If you need to tape it down, tape it down. But less is best on the paint. If it doesn't coat the first time, it's a lot easier to go back over it with a second coat rather than trying to get all that paint on at one time. Now, some people stipple, some people use makeup wedges. You use whatever you feel comfortable with. I use a swirling motion. I go one direction and then I swirl back the other direction to make sure that I get every spot. Okay, so now I'm going to pull this up and, I pulled it up and looked at it and I was like, okay, I don't like the green with the purple and with the teal color. So now I'm going to add just a little bit of light mocha in with that green just to give them a little bit of a different color for the greenery there. Okay, so now you guys are going to laugh at me. I pulled that up. I don't like it. I'm not happy with the colors. It just did not make me happy. So guess what we're going to do? we're going to lay that stencil right back down on top of that, and we're going to redo it. So I decided that I wanted to use black on the letters because I really want those letters to pop. And with that white background, that pastel-y color, it just doesn't stick out very well. Now I will say this, because I laid the stencil back down and I'm going over that, you will still be able to just slightly see that teal around the edges of my letters, which looks really cool when it gets done. So that doesn't bother me at all, that you can still see a little bit of the teal color. So here I am just going over it with black. This is the ink color from Waverly, I think it is. I'm not positive, but it is a chalk paint. It is better to use a chalk paint to stencil with rather than using like your apple barrels that are a lot thinner. But if you need to use the apple barrels, which I do sometimes, you just need to really make sure that your brush is super dry and you don't have a whole bunch of paint on there. Also, if you have to clean your stencil brushes, you don't want to use a wet stencil brush. That makes your paint thin and it makes it run. So here I ended up going back over the greenery with the original color that we had, so, you know. And I decided that I didn't really like the purple bunny. Now I want my bunny to be pink. Now I did leave a little bit hint of that purple on there, so it kind of looks like it's maybe a little tie-dyed. And I started to go around the edges, and I was going to frame this in with black, and then I remembered my board is brown, Kristi, silly girl. So now what I'm doing is I'm just taking that foam staining pad that I used. I didn't even get more stain on it, and went along there where the white paint went over on the brown and covered that. And now I am just framing this in. When you frame your projects in, it draws your eye to the center to the actual picture. And I go over the whole thing because, of course, you know, if you know me, it has to be a little bit grungy. So we kind of just went over the whole thing right there. I love how this turned out. I was not happy at first, but I am happy now. So here are our 2 projects for the Don't Worry Be Hoppy. I'd love it if you subscribe to my channel and check out all my links on my link tree. Again, you can save with Essential Stencil, and don't forget to hit that bell so that you get notifications whenever I post a new video or go live over here on YouTube. I am on all the social places as Funky Junk Inspiration. I'd love it if you check me out on every platform there is. You guys have a great evening, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.